Kevin with JJ Hat Center. The evening sun's kind of pouring in, so a little bit of a glare, but I think it's going to die down as I start to lose light. Got the shrimp fork hooked up today. Somebody asked me, what about if I'm short? You know, what kind of hats are for me? What if I'm short? Very good question. I'm going to try to cover that today. Hopefully I won't go off on too many tangents and forget to cover it. The other thing I wanted to cover is The other thing I want to cover is how should a hat fit? What does it feel like? It's really two different videos, but sometimes I ask the guy, so how does it feel? How does it feel? I don't know. How is it supposed to fit? Very common question. Is it supposed to rest on my ears, above my ears, close to my ears? How tight? What's it, do I do back here? What do I do? Forward, so, And if it's different in all these different places, what's the deal? How does it fit? How should it fit? All right, the long and the short of it, it should fit the way it feels good to you. Everybody likes a different fit. Some people like a tighter fit. They don't want their hat to blow away, like older men. A lot of religious hat wearers, they wear them tight because sometimes I think they don't use umbrellas too. They can't push buttons on the Sabbath. It's one of the things, and can't use elevator buttons or umbrella buttons. So hats provide a shelter. It makes it simpler. Just use a hat. There's a lot of reasons, but we're going to talk about why people like different fits. Most of it is, some people like to keep it very tight because they don't want it to fall off. Other people like a bigger fit. I think it has to do with comfort, but it also has to do with a look, an oversized look. I do the oversized look, but usually not this much. Usually a hat should go right above the ears. Small space, tiny space, a finger. Some people 2 fingers. I say that's pushing it. 2 fingers, 1.5 fingers, a finger, a half of a finger. Close to the ear, just touching the ear is fine. If it's grazing it or touching it, none of it's like resting on the ears like this, just barely touching it is fine as long as you've got the depth everywhere else. Let's say it's touching the ears, yeah, but the hat's way up here. Then no, it's not good. If the hat's down where it should be and it's just grazing your ears, that's fine, it's not an issue. But if the ears are obstructing it and it's not allowing it to go down to the place where it should be, that's an issue. Does that make sense? So it's okay if you just barely touch the ear if you're doing an oversized look, but make sure the hat's like where it should be. It should be nice and low where you like it. The widest part of the head is the brow bone here. Okay. What I like to do to check a hat to see if it fits is you pull it down on the brow bone. If you can keep it on, if you can get the hat to stay on, no matter how oversized it is, it's okay. Because you wear it above the brow bone, but when it gets windy or a train is passing, you have that ability to lock it down there if you need to. So that's the test. You should be able to lock it down at the widest part of your head, tie your shoes or something like that. If you can't do that, you're really pushing it. And even that, my hat is incredibly big right now. It's way too big for me. It's like a 3/4. I generally wear like a 3/8. So, it's a lot of sizes too big. But I could get away with it. I do a slant thing too, which also makes it a little bit tighter. So. let's talk a little bit about this stuff. I had enough of this beast. Let's put her back on the rack. Alright. So, getting back to how a hat should fit. Okay. What you want is, you want the hat to be able to lock down at the brow. Okay. If that's your biggest part. Generally what we're going to do, that's the biggest part of your bone of your head and stuff. So generally you don't want the hat resting right there at your brow bone. You're going to wear it above the brow bone. I'm going to put on a hat that fits me now. Okay. Alright. Here's a hat that more kind of fits me and stuff. So there's my ear. Pulling it down to a nice solid spot now. It's maybe grazing my ear, or there's still a little space, I think. Okay, my brow bone is here, so okay. There's a test. Figure if a train is coming or something like that, I'll take it from that above the brow bone place, and I'm getting ready for the big breeze to come. I bring it right over there at my brow, biggest part of my head, and I'll grip the hat, let the train, the wind blow. Then when I'm finished, I bring it back to right above the biggest part of my head. So over your brow bone, it kind of, it slants, kind of curves back to your skull or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not a step, it's very gradual, obviously. So you could almost adjust how tight it is. So if it's locked down at your widest point here by your eyes, if you want to loosen it, the higher you bring it, the more you're loosening it up now. Now it's not that simple, because what you could do now is you could also tilt it. So you could get it nice and tight, yet have one eye very, very exposed and one eye kind of, down in the shadows, which looks very cool to me. Obviously when you have hair, it makes it look more shadowy, like that. But you get the idea. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting it on a slant, which allows it to tighten up, instead of being like the whole, like at its loosest part. I'm bringing the whole of the hat sideways, so it kind of hits my head at a, at a diagonal, and it feels tighter too. So that's a way of keeping it on, wearing a hat that's kind of nice and loose. Now I also like my hat very oversized. It's just like a thing. It's a thing I do. It's like my look. Oversized is going to look more casual, but when it's oversized, you always have the, you have the option of putting some foam inside, or a little padding right inside the leather at the back. And you're tightening it up, 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever you want, 30%. The longer the piece back there, the longer it gets, the tighter the hat gets, the more the percentage goes up. Now, assuming you have enough crown height and everything inside here, there's nothing obstructing you. You're basically dealing with the temple. Something we talked about yesterday is that often this hits you, or even on an open road, these hit you, and the hat is kind of teetering up on this, like this part. See, it doesn't look right at all, because this brim should be down here. The hat should be way, way down, way down. So sometimes it's a matter of deepening the crown. Now my crown is very soft. My head just pushes it out of the way. What happens if it's a Western hat and this thing's hard like a rock? It's like a rancher or an open road or something. Or just, even a new Stratoliner, which has some stiffener up there. The hat you're looking at here, I rolled hundreds of times. It's super soft, overly soft. Not all hats are that soft. Now, what you need to do to deepen these hats basically is hitting the top with some steam and pushing from within to make a kind of a, see that? You don't want it to go that far, but yeah, you want to make a little shape, an oval or something. One way to do it is to heat up the whole inside, the interior with steam, get it all done, not the exterior. Try to avoid that, let that stay cool. Heat this up with steam. as best as you can. There's going to be steam bouncing all over the place. But direct it in here. Then put your hand inside, make that little curve. Okay, and you could even do this. Make sure it's not so hot that it's going to burn your head, and then put it on your head. Feel it. Do one of these. Trace around your head. You're making a custom shape for yourself. So essentially what you're doing is you're making that little bump just enough room to get your crown out of your way because you traced your crown, but not extra. You're not making it like, really big. But what I like to do is take that shape and finish it. Either keep it a circle or turn it into like a pear shape by finishing like this while it's still a little wet. And that's it. Hit it with a fan or something. When you finish, you could even zap it with some hairspray. But if you're going to do that, make sure you dusted the hat first. That should be your first step before steaming, always. Because if anything you spray, you'll be like locking down any, lint and dust under the spray, like kind of forever and stuff. So yeah, that's basically how you teardrop a hat too. You have a center crease. Inside comes up, and you trace around everything but the point there in the front. That's a teardropping a hat is essentially deepening a hat. That's how you deepen a hat. You could do it a different way where you retain deepening a hat. You could deepen a hat without teardropping it, where you retain a center crease look by just hiding that little crease in there, by softening the inside and making a kind of a hidden teardrop. So it's a center crease with a little bubble. We call that a bubble crown. It deepens it, but when it's this high up on your head, you see nothing. You don't see the bubble or anything. It's just a center crease. If that's not enough depth for you, you got to bring this way down in the back and just fully teardrop it. Now your hat is deeper. Now, this all relates to the short thing. Basically, yeah, you need a lower crown for short people. That's the rule. A high crown is not going to work for a shorter person. I'm kind of a shorter person, My mom is 5'2". I might be like 5 inches bigger than her, maybe 4 or 5 inches. I'm like 5'7" or something. Not a big guy. So, if I have a really, really high crown, it makes me appear kind of, I don't know. I'm a little guy, a little skinny guy, so high crowns usually they'll make you look short. So the idea is to pick a crown that's appropriate. Most of the crowns are going to be just regular crowns. There's a few of them that are a little lowish. They'll generally be teardrops, because when you teardrop it, you're lowering it, remember? And pork pies. Pork pies is basically the lowest shape there is. That's when you lower it in the front and the back. It gives you pork pie. So that's the lowest shape. If you're a short person, the pork pie hat can be worn down to, it's a myth. It doesn't have to just be worn up like a jazzy pork pie, cool dude. It's basically just a fedora with the lowest crown you can get. They chop the whole crown off the top, the pinched part, that part. They just chopped it all off and you're left with the bottom part. So that's your pork pie. A pork pie is super low, but not everybody likes the roundness of it. So, one thing you can do is you can just do a teardrop, and you can alter your hats. You can lower it in the front. So you can do these kind of hybrid things where it's almost a pork pie that's pinched in the front, like a diamond crown or something. So you're not getting the blockiness, but you're getting the same height as a pork pie, You just fold it into itself. Super low teardrop. It's essentially a pork pie with a little pinch in the front. That's all it is. If you just let go of that pinch, you just tiny bit of manipulating, it's back to a pork pie. It's almost the same hat. One of them's just pinched. Bam. Same hat. So yeah, keep the crown low if you're short. That is the key. High crowns are going to bring that attention. The thing is, in our shop, we can always lower a crown just by lowering the front. So you can say, I like the hat, but can you lower the crown a little bit? And you could do it. They just chop this corner off. It's essentially just rolling it into itself. So if you look from the side, it blends down, you know. That's it. And then you can adjust hats. But the hats that are going to be the lowest are generally going to be the stuff like the pork pies, the diamonds, they're shorter brims. Things like gamblers, outbacks, like the Stetson Dune, the outback hat. Other hats that are super short. A lot of the teardrops, I'm going to say the Whippet. The Whippet from Stetson is nice and low. And not that many high Stetsons on the dress hat side. The Temple is a little bit high, some people think, but it's really easy to just bring that front down in a second. I'm going to say the Whippet's a good one to start with. The Temple, to me, that's a 2.5-inch brim. It's not for a really petite person, but I wouldn't call it a high crown. It's just a kind of a standard classical crown, you know, where the Whippet would be a lower option. Or the Asher is a small brim hat. The Saxon is a 2-inch, which is about what I'm wearing. It's kind of a short brim, but not teeny tiny. Maybe a little bigger than mine, a little bigger. A good medium-sized brim. That's a good one. The Saxon's a center crease, which is nice and low. It's kind of like the classical, like, old man's hat, short brim, not tiny, but just kind of a little conservative hat, similar to this. But yeah, the shortest, lowest things are going to definitely be all in the pork pie range. And then what you do is you bring them to a guy like Kevin or the guys at JJ Hat Center, and you tell them, look, can you lower it? Now, the one hat that it's hard for us to actually lower is a pork pie. That one we can't really lower. But anything like a center crease or a teardrop or most any of the other creases will come down. So you could always say, all right, I'm going to live with this center crease or this teardrop and see what I think. I could always bring it back to JJ's and they'll lower the crown. And it's as easy as just sort of like a shoe shine or something like that. For us it's every day, like flipping an egg or a pancake for, the breakfast man. So it's real simple. As far as, let's get back to other things. A short person can wear, definitely caps are real easy. Ivy caps, any of the Ivy or the slim Ivies are real good, or the smaller newsboys, like the Alfonso, the Leeds newsboys, that kind of stuff. Any of the slim stuff, the Orchard, which is a wool one, that's the one that Bruce Willis wears. It's a compact, but kind of a medium Peaky Blinders type of wool one, the Orchard newsboy. Anything slim in a cap will be good. Anything small in the brim, I'm going to say 2-inch brim or less. 2 3/8 inch if you want a little bit more like a jaunty fedora look. But it's not so much the brim. Women can get away with 3-inch brims, bigger, as long as the crown is low. Generally, as long as you're a fashionable person, generally a big brim will look glamorous on you. You can handle it as long as you don't have the big brim and a high crown. If you got a big brim, balance it out by keeping the crown lower and stuff, so everything just looks kind of balanced. Everybody's going to see it as looking different. They're going to want this crown to look higher, to look lower, and it's what looks right to you. So if you feel uncomfortable in something, give it some time. It usually takes about 15 minutes in front of the mirror to acclimate to something. The most common complaint is the crown's too high for new hat wearers if you're not used to this stuff. So wait 15 minutes, wait 20 minutes, look at the hat again, ask some people. If everybody says, okay, that one looks okay, that one looks great, maybe there's something to it. Maybe the crown is not high and it's your imagination. Step back to it 15 minutes later. The crown doesn't exactly look high anymore. It just looks, it still looks high, but not high weird. High like I like it high, kind of. I think I could dig this. It looks, okay, Okay, what I'm looking at is this height as a shape, as a height, as a measurement, and then this height, the face, and this. Looking at these two, almost like geometric shapes, almost like a composition, like a painter looks at his shapes as a composition. So you've got this light shape here, and then this shape on top of it has to balance with it. Doesn't have to look super duper low, like really low, because that's going to start to look funky, like a pork pie, kind of a funky look. If you want to keep it elegant and keep it classic, don't want to go too high, because then you're going to start to look film noir, like a costume. You know, like Broadway melody. So the idea is to strike a balance where it looks comfortable, not awkward, and you feel good. It could always be adjusted. So right there, maybe that's it for some people. For me, it might be a little higher because I kind of embrace the height on this particular hat. I like it to look as high as I can, sort of in a way. So I feel like it's sort of shrunken through the years and it looks lower than it used to. But whatever, you know, everybody's going to have a different idea of what that height should be for themselves and what they feel good in. So the answer is not so much a formula. There are boundaries, you know, like short people don't go with high crowns, but if you're going to do a big brim, balance it out with that smaller, you know, crown and stuff. You can do big brims. Not huge, you know, we're not talking comically big and stuff, you know. Not banging into doorways. Don't do 4-inch brims and things like that. But I would keep it 3 or under if you're a short person. If you're doing westerns, you could go more than that, 3.5. 3.5, even 4 for a flat brim, as long as the crown's not high, it'll be fine. Now, Gamblers are a really nice hat. The Royal Flush, it seems to be a very tiny little flat crown and a nice big brim. The Royal Flush is a nice gambler for most short people. It definitely comes up nicely. People can play it off nicely. I'm gonna say, go with your feelings, go with your first instincts, but give it some time, because again, it's a thing for most people to think that crown looks too high at first, especially when they're a new hat wearer. So if that's what you're seeing, come back to it, give it a few minutes. Generally it takes 15 to 20 minutes of looking in the mirror, people complimenting you and you looking at different things, taking pictures, different angles. Eventually you start to calm down a little and you're, oh my god, ambulances, yep. Okay, what happens is you're shocked at first and you start to relax and the image in the mirror doesn't look so weird anymore. So yeah, crowns are a thing. So yeah, keep it, you know, adjusted the right way. We can always lower it for you, but don't go lowering it right away, because sometimes it is us. Other times we're balancing on this crease here, and the hat itself needs to go from there, balancing to here. And then once we fix the depth of the crown, the hat is not sitting up there, and the crown doesn't look high anymore. Get it? See, that hat wasn't sitting in the right place. We thought it was, because it looked okay. But I'm balancing on the point. Now, if I bring it down to where there's a little bump in there, the only way to do that would be to steam it in. Little steam in there, nice and hot. Keep the outsides cool, steam it, and then hold it with your hand. Make that little sausage shape, little pickle shape in the middle. Hold it, and then, you know, don't pop it out, but just hold it. And then when it feels like it's not so hot, like you could put your head in there, you want to burn yourself. Put it back on. Again, don't burn yourself. Feel it first with your hand. Do a test. Then bring it down and make a little impression in your head. Kind of shape around it, like trace around it, and bam. You just deepened it. Now your hat sits lower where it should be. Do it yourself, right? Alright. Let's make a little thing like that. How to deepen your crown yourself, bam. How to lower it, you lower it here. You tuck it back into itself. Make that shape look cool, you know, go back, fix that up. But yeah, crowns could come down, so don't be scared of them. And if you're a short person, hey, me too. I'm definitely not tall. Okay, we're losing light. No more glare. You notice that? Twilight. Okay. Get dinner out of here, out of the way. Start eating, being with my family. I'm going to be there for a while making videos, so let's wrap it up. And talk to you guys soon. Ooh. You know that I can't get from that old tree.